Live here.
Live!
But we don't have to necessarily know what that means.
What's the someday of Black?
I don't
there's
know
a
that we
reason
want to-
this story happens now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the movie writes itself.
Ooh.
Well,
I'm still streaming. How do I stop streaming? No!
Oh, no.
Yes!
No.
Yes! Good morning, Ben. Or afternoon. We are still morning. Technically, 11
Technically, we are 1 minute.
1 minute
until the afternoon today.
How are you, dude? Other than being crazy tired all of the time because of your new baby. Other than that.
Other than that, well, I'm doing good, and welcome to anyone listening. This is Ben and Jake Write a Movie.
Hello.
Two crazy ass screenwriters who thought writing a spec online live was a good idea.
Yeah.
So
you know why we thought that? No, it's quite fun. It's
great.
going quite well, you know.
I'm enjoying it. I don't know if anyone else is, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I did have an idea as to a topic that we could talk about.
Oh, go on then. What is it?
And it's very relevant to what we are dealing with in our own additional parts of our career right now. And that is...
I know what you're going to say. What do you do when your writing partner is an asshole?
Oh... I need like 3 hours and it's a live audience.
Can't get through it in an hour.
No, you know, I was thinking it'd be good to talk about notes and not the creative side of notes, because that's a whole other thing about, you know, creatively what you want to do with your script, although that is part of it, but also kind of the business side of notes and what it means to be a professional screenwriter and to be a good note taker. And it's an interesting topic because we have experienced recently in our personal career different ranges of notes, and notes that were huge and notes that have been very challenging. And you know, there was a time early in our career where we got, I think, one of the best compliments we've ever had from a very, very high level executive who said, great thing about you guys is that you're not precious and you know how to rewrite yourselves. And so I think it's a really good thing to talk about for you know, for new writers, and for, you know, writers who've been doing this a long time. I think we get to a point where the kind of, I don't know if it's the jadedness of the business, but the the consistency of people telling you what to do with your creative ideas.
Yeah.
We forget about those days early on when we are new and just want to please everyone.
Yeah, totally.
And
well, you know, it's one of those things that's said, you know, if you don't want to ever take notes on something you've written, don't become a screenwriter.
Right.
Become a novelist who only self-publishes.
Yes.
You know, and doesn't take feedback from anyone ever.
Right.
Because in all aspects.
Write a journal.
Write a journal, exactly. Keep a diary.
Or a blog.
Yes.
Nowadays, write a blog.
Totally. I have notes on your journal. I read your journal last night. What? I have notes. But, you know, it's true. You are, I mean, I think especially when it comes to screenwriting, you are going to be taking notes on your project just all of the time. All of the time. All of the time. You just are.
So
you know?
When do you think, I mean, this is, to me, the biggest question, and I'm talking about once you're working with a producer, but
yes, but even before that, potentially, you might get notes from your management.
I was just going to say, it could be that. It could be your agent that gives you notes. It could be your management that gives you notes. It could be
once you've written something, at some point you're going to get notes.
Yeah, I mean, I used to say
to someone else.
You know, I say, and I still believe that the moment you hit send on that first email where you send your draft out into the world, it no longer is just yours.
Yeah, totally.
And that's a really, really hard thing
Yeah.
to deal with as an artist.
Yeah.
But there is a business side, and we've talked about this the other day, the art versus commerce. This was your topic the other day, and I think that this is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
This business being very much a relationship business, this being about this industry of Hollywood being about people consistently working with people that they like working with. And so there's, some people get angry about the nepotism that exists in Hollywood. There is a certain amount that I agree with. If people really don't deserve, I mean, nepotism technically is when someone gets a job that they really aren't qualified for, but they get it through their connections, their family, their friends, or something like that. But there is a level, I think, of people who want to work with writers who are easy to work with. And I think that the longer you do it, almost the hard. I mean, some people start right off the bat and they're defensive, and these writers very quickly. It's very clear right away. You go, oh, okay, this person's not going to want to take any of our notes, or this person really doesn't care what anybody else has to say. And I will say, if you're working in the studio system, the odds are that will lead to a very quick firing.
Yes, it will.
Doesn't mean you won't sell things in the future. It just means you won't be on your project.
You might be a machine at selling great spec scripts.
Yeah.
But it's even when you sell a spec script, a studio is going to want to put their stamp on it. They're going to want to develop it in some way. You are always going to have notes.
And I think the biggest challenge is, how do you take notes and be that person who is easy and likable to work with, that everyone wants to hire again or do another project again because they go, man, that was so easy. They did exactly what I wanted.
Totally.
And yet also stay in your space of where you want your project to be. Still be passionate about the script that you're writing. And sometimes that can be really, really difficult.
It can be hard. I want to talk about 3 things as part of this topic. The first I want to talk about is understanding the concept of the note beneath the note. The second I want to talk about is something that you talked about with another writer friend of yours, which is when you get a bad note that they haven't thought through, that is going to massively pull threads of your script and destroy it. How do you deal with that then? And also, a great thing that we heard, which is, even if you don't like the note, how can you identify the one thing that's going to make them feel good and heard when they give that note? So what was the first thing I said? Note beneath the note.
The note beneath the note.
So this phrase you may hear a lot. And fundamentally, it might be you get a note that you go, what? That's a really random note. I'll use an example from our script 40 Thieves, and it's a note that we joke about.
Okay. I was going to say, let's not use any examples from scripts that we currently are working on. Let's use a not actually true example.
Okay, all right then. So there was a script years ago. I think we've talked about this. It was a TV project we were developing, and the note we got was, can we give this person can we give this person a dead daughter? We call them dead daughter notes when we get them. A dead daughter, to give him a real motivation for why he's going on his quest. And we were just like, oh God, what is this note about this dead daughter? We constructed this whole thing that just ultimately didn't work. But what was the note beneath the note? It was, again, if I'd be looking at it in hindsight, would be, we need something to emotionally root this character's desire. May have been a way that we could have gone. That's the note beneath the note. So when you go away and you go, and what you can do is you can go, you know what? We tried it. It wasn't working that way. But what we did hear you wanted was this. So we've done that in this way. And that way you're taking the note, but not the literal note.
I will say, while I think you're 100% right in the kind of that's the way to artistically approach it, there are executives and producers who don't want you to take the note beneath the note. They just want you to do the note.
Yeah.
So the dead daughter was wanted.
Yeah.
Actually, they wanted the dead daughter.
Yeah.
We tried to,
and we did,
say, we're not sure if this works. We know that you want an emotional core. Is there a way that we can get around it? And ultimately, no, they wanted this.
They wanted the dead daughter.
Only to then realize that it didn't work after they read it. And the problem is that a lot of times, and well, I mean, it's only a problem to a certain degree. God, my hair was bad. I shouldn't take my hat off again. The problem is that executives and producers genuinely are trying to do what's best for the project. They have the same goal as us. They want to get the movie made, right? Or the TV show made. That is their goal. No one is trying to sabotage your script. And we have to remember that at all times. However, they have not sat with it as long as you have.
They're not necessarily storytellers.
And they're not necessarily, but they do believe that they are. And you have to take you have to realize that people don't get into this business who don't want to tell stories in some way. You know, most of your executives or your producers were aspiring writers or aspiring or aspiring actors or whatever. You know, they transitioned into being executives because they love the dream of Hollywood and they love what it is,
and they love movies and TV shows.
Want to make TV shows. So and everybody has an opinion. I mean, God, go on Reddit or Twitter or wherever, look about opinions on people's movies or TV shows. Everyone has an opinion. The difficult thing is when that opinion is coming from the person that has hired you and is paying you. Or when that opinion is coming from a producer that you have committed to working with, who is a relationship that you really, really want to foster and salvage and don't want to offend in any way. And so while the note beneath the note is important, it's very difficult to straddle the I am giving you what you want. I am hearing you and I am doing it's not that I don't like your idea, because here's what you always hear. This is a bad idea. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
They're lying. Like, let's be clear. This is a bad idea. Take it or leave it isn't true. It's this is my idea.
This is my idea, and I'm nervous about sharing it with you, so I'm going to package it up in, don't worry, this is a bad idea, but
I'm a little insecure, so exactly. I'm not. I don't. But what I really want to see is my idea on the page.
Yeah. Now that's different from sometimes someone will say it's not this, but bleh.
Right.
It might just be like, I know this isn't right, but it's something like, meh. And I feel like we do that a lot with each other.
And talking it through, I think the best thing to do, and this will lead into that version of what you're talking about here, right? Your best chance at somehow recovering from a note that you don't agree with but seems like it is really what they want is to try and talk it through on that call. And sometimes this can be hard because these calls can be short, but if you need more time, my suggestion at this point in time, knowing what I know now, would be to say, hey guys, I know we ran out of time, but we really like this and we want to talk through it more. Can we set another call? Because when you leave your note session, you have marching orders and you need to deliver on those marching orders to your employer. But if you can identify that the note isn't really what they want, but that there is a note beneath the note, there's a way to approach that. So, for example, our note of you get a dead daughter, you could say at that point, gosh, that's really interesting. Let's talk that through, though. Let's see how would that affect the overall thing, and engage the person that's giving you the note to go, because if we give that person a dead daughter, then that is really what they're going for. And do you think that, and get them as part of the conversation, do you think that takes away from his emotional core? Now,
in that particular sense, where we were at that, we didn't have a script yet.
No, it was in the outline.
It was in development. But you may have written the script. You may be, first draft, your second draft, whatever. And someone goes, I think this thing should happen in Act 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
Or one thing. They don't see the threads that they're going to pull.
Right.
And we literally had it not that long ago. We've had several projects recently. And
it happens almost on
it
every
happens
project.
all the time. And what we've learned, and this was something that Ben got through talking to a screenwriter friend of his, was doing exactly that. You can instantly see how it breaks it. Instantly. You're like, oh yeah, that's going to really fuck things up.
But don't just say no.
But don't just say no. And don't say, but if we do that, it breaks it.
Mm-hmm.
Talk it through. You say, okay, so let's talk this through. If that happens, that's going to change this, then that, then this, then that, then that. That set piece isn't going to happen in quite the same way. We're going to have to entirely rethink that. And then the motivation, and of course, it'll be different in every situation.
Yeah, and I think that you can say, so is that what you're looking for?
Totally. Genuinely.
Asking, so now that we've walked this through, is that the version you're looking for? And put them on the hot seat.
Yes.
Because then if they say yes, then you go, okay, so just to be clear, I'm going to walk this through. You want us to put a dead daughter in and change everything to fit around the dead daughter. And then when the script comes back and you have done everything that they have asked and you were very clear on that call about walking it through, it's not your fault.
Totally.
And that...
don't get me wrong. They'll make it your fault, but...
but there is an acknowledgement amongst... Because there's not just two people on this phone call.
Of course.
And there is an acknowledgement amongst the team that all know that you tried to walk that through and be as user-friendly as possible. And then, ultimately, you did what they wanted.
Sure. And then the other version is they go... oh, yeah, no, you're right. That doesn't work.
That's what you're hoping for.
And that's what you're hoping for.
Yeah.
You're right. That doesn't work. But which then might lead them to go and identify the note beneath the note.
And hopefully they give you the idea that works.
Totally.
That your end goal with a bad note is to get that person to give you a good version of that note. If you can find a way to make them go, oh, you know what? That doesn't work. But instead of a dead daughter, what if we gave him a dead wife? And you go, you know what? And the funny thing is, half the time you might have said that in a previous meeting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, completely.
Remember you, and you go, you know what? I really like this about the dead wife. That actually doesn't change any of what we have, but it does give him the motivation. All of a sudden, it's they're giving you their note, and you're delivering their note. Because at the end of the day, and unfortunately, although everything is a learning experience, we have been in a situation where we really disagreed with some notes. And they were, if I could go back and change this experience, I would. But these notes were from the head of the studio. And we, as the creatives that we are like, we see that these notes don't work. We know instantly that these notes don't work. And we think that we're, being friendly, nice guys, and we're having a creative conversation here. And it's what's called a creative meeting, which is really another word for a notes meeting. And so we went away and we were like, well, what's the note beneath the notes? How can we kind of do what they want, but not fully do what they want? What is the way to kind of do this? And you come back, and a lot of times with these kind of bigger jobs, they want you to come back after they've given you the notes. And before you actually write, they'd like to hear how you're going to address their notes. And so we go in and we go, well, what we heard was this. And so instead of doing the version that you said, what we'd like to do is this version over here. And the response was, so you're not going to do the notes. And that was a very awkward Zoom.
It was. And I think because in that particular example, every single note that they had, we had a version that wasn't their version.
Yeah.
Every single time. So at the end of it, we were kind of coming back with literally, no, we're not going to do your notes.
and it wasn't our intention. Look, like the reality
it wasn't our intention.
We didn't even realize how difficult we were being.
We
And
didn't
I
realize.
think
I completely
that's
agree.
the-
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the learning experience of
Yeah.
it all, and that's what
Yeah.
we're hoping to, I guess, share with
Yeah.
everyone here. Is writing a screenplay is a collaborative process, and there has to be an acceptance that it's not going to all end up your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal, once it's sold, is to try and make everyone else's ideas fit really well within your puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And that means listening to the note. Maybe it means trying the note and delivering a draft where you've done the note, but acknowledging that you don't think it works. We haven't actually done that.
I know. Yeah. Going to go into the very last thing, which is when you are hearing these notes, even if you fucking hate this note, how can you make the person giving the note feel heard? And it's a phrase that we've now started using, which is, what I like about that idea is, and it doesn't mean you have to go away and do everything, but it just, and it can be one thing. What I like about the dead daughter is it gives us something, an emotional idea, or what I like about that is that gives us a connection to the brother in a way that doesn't exist in the current
And
script.
it does give you the opportunity to then bring in your own idea, because you're acknowledging that something they've contributed is good, and
makes
now
them
you're
feel good.
Add on to it in a collaborative way. What I like about the dead daughter is it gives this emotional connection that we're missing. What if it was the wife? And then you're not telling them their idea is wrong. It is still coming from you, which they may push back, but at least you're entering into a dialogue that is positive. I mean, look, the important thing about all of this is to be approaching it also from a genuine standpoint. People can sniff out someone who is just, bullshitting and going, oh, yeah, this is great. This is great. This is great. I mean, nobody, we can sniff it out when a producer is like not giving us any notes and saying everything's great. And we're like, yeah, I know there's something wrong here. And so when you do say things like what I like about that, or when you do go in and say, let's talk this through, go approach it from a genuine desire of collaboration. Now, there's one last thing that I want to talk about with the idea of notes, and that is when you are working and not getting paid, and you're given notes that are rather large, and take the movie or the TV show in a direction that you weren't thinking of before. But you've been developing this project with a producer, so you want to take, this is a collaboration. You haven't written necessarily, if you did write the spec, there's a reason that you've gone and attached this producer in the first place.
Yes.
And if you haven't written the spec yet and you're developing this along, there's a reason that you've chosen this producer as your partner. And in either case, you are partners in this. And so that producer needs to be heard. And at the same time, they're not paying you. And so the question is, when is the right time to say no? And when is at what point do you go, maybe we're not wanting the same thing? And is that ever a good idea? Because again, going back to the relationship aspect of this business, this is about working with people over and over and over again. You want those connections, you want those relationships, you want to work with people you like, and if you find someone that you really think is great, you want to work with them again. And when you tell someone no, they don't want to work with you
it's
again.
interesting though, isn't it? Because we are both on the giving and receiving end of this at the moment. We are producing movies. We have notes for a screenwriter on our movie, on the movie that they've written on spec. And it's interesting to be on the other side of it, kind of going, well, here's what works, here's what we think can be improved, and that person going, I don't want to do a crazy nuts rewrite on this, but I can edge it 10%, 15%, 20% towards what you think it is, and we understand that, and yet also likewise, yesterday we got something through and we were like, do we want to continue to do work on this script for essentially free at the moment? And it's it just depends each and every single time. I don't think you can have a blanket statement, which is like, I will never do unpaid notes for a producer. I mean, once you've been hired, there are legal.
Well, it's not even about unpaid notes, right? Like if you're going to get into bed with a producer, you better be ready to do notes.
Totally.
There's no such thing
Yeah.
as a team sport where one of the team members doesn't get at least some say, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like even if it's just a small polish, I think you have to be prepared that people like to have their creative ideas heard. Again, that's why we all got into this, right? And part of it is it does come down to the relationship, the project, and how much you still love and how much you are passionate about that project. But I feel like, especially in the early days, and you know what, to be frank, like we're eight and a half, almost 9 years in, even at this stage, I think you have to at least try.
Yeah.
If someone who you respect enough to have attached them to your project and to have worked with them, sometimes on multiple things.
Yeah.
You have to respect that they know what they're doing to a certain degree,
indeed.
that they have a right to their opinion, and that it's not just your script anymore.
Yeah, totally.
That it is partially theirs. If they're going to produce it, it's going to be probably more their movie than your movie by the end.
Indeed. Siri, my wife, has said in the comments, do you want to be right or have a good script at the end? I'd say, do you want to be right or do you want to be paid?
Yeah. Well, or do you want to be right or do you want to be I mean, not do you not want to work with that person?
I know, absolutely.
You know, I do think that, and it can be hard. I mean, we've been in a situation where we were getting notes from two very important sides of the equation, a director and a studio, and those notes were in conflict with each other.
They were.
And we wanted to work with both of them again. So we tried our very best to accommodate both, and as a result, we could accommodate neither.
And that's it. You go, if you try to make everyone happy, you make no one happy.
And that was a situation where I don't know, still to this day, I don't know what the right answer is.
I don't know what the right answer is.
I would love to hear from another writer out there who's been in a similar situation.
Yeah, I know, right?
But I do think, we have a few things right now that we love to various degrees, and they're all going to require notes. And at the end of the day, I think that all the producers that we're working with right now, because we're very picky about who we work with, are all people that we really genuinely like and want to continue to work with. They're all people that we've worked with for years now, on multiple projects, some of them paid even. And so as much as we don't want to do the notes, it's important to do them.
Yep, it is.
And that's what I'll say about notes.
That's all I got to say about that.
But if you have any questions, comments, complete and total disagreements with us, by all means, leave them.
By all means, reach out to us. If you are watching this in the future, when we all drive space cars, maybe check to see if we're still on Twitter. Make some comments about things. I'm at Jake Thornton. Ben is at Ben_Lustig. And Facebook page as well. I can see that Siri, my wife, is watching us on Facebook now. She's left 4 comments.
Nice, yeah.
Let's keep cracking on with our script. We made an interesting discovery yesterday, which was really about the demon character that we are currently calling Charlize Theron. But she's not going to be played by Charlize Theron.
No,
she's going to be
probably
played
not.
by Mindy Kaling. Which is called Charlize Theron. And it was ultimately about, it's funny us talking about dead daughters and things like that, because this was a similar thing. It was, what is the reason? It was a question you asked. What is the reason that Charlize is actually going to go and stop the Antichrist?
What's the motivation?
What's the motivation? Ultimately, we discovered that it should be something emotional. I'd thrown out, it should just be that she wants to stop the Antichrist. But Ben was like, that's not good enough. That's just not good enough, Jake. Get out of my sight. You make me sick. So through that, then we discovered, well, should she in her time looking and behaving as a regular mortal human being on Earth actually have found love, or the closest approximation to it that a demon can have.
Normalcy.
A normalcy, absolutely right.
Even if we made full love.
Yeah. So we made a tweak into our current, into some of our earlier scenes to express that. Now there was a question that arose yesterday as part of it, which was about the boiling bath. We came to a moment yesterday where we were like, and she gets in a boiling bath, and I asked the question, how will we know it's boiling? And Ben was like, because it'll be boiling. I was like, but bathwater doesn't just boil. Does she have magic powers? And he was like, yeah, maybe she does. And then it was like, so then what are their powers? So we're going to just start the conversation today, clarifying what are the powers of demons in our movie.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think if we have anything on that on our scratch, but I don't think we actually ever went into this idea before.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we did either. We knew that it was going to be the ability to look human, but to demons, you can see your true form.
And we had them as stronger.
We had them as stronger, yes.
And clearly, and that they can sense demonic energy.
Yep. We also have this side, it's not really a power, it's just a kind of almost side effect of their appearance, which we currently have, which is you can smell sulfur.
Yeah, also they are immortal.
They are functionally
immortal.
Yeah.
So all of those are interesting. But these are supernatural beings.
Yes.
They are from the
netherworld.
The netherworld. Hell, the underworld, whatever.
Croydon, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it. They are not bound by human limitations. So we can give them and do with them whatever we want.
Yes.
But this is one of those interesting things where if you give someone a power, not only are you adding to their kind of superhero-ness, but now you have to use that power in a cool, interesting, new way.
And the rules have to be clear.
And consistent. You know, that being said, there are situations whereby, different kind of superheroes have different levels of abilities.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, Superman's from Krypton. As a result, he has certain powers. Why does he have those powers? Well, they just literally say because of the yellow sun. But when other Kryptonians come to Earth, guess what? They have the same powers. There is nothing that Superman can do that Zod can't do. And it only ends up being his wits that allows him to win in Superman 2, which is a great film, by the way. But
I've only ever seen Man of Steel, so I don't know. Was that Superman versus Batman? Batman versus Superman? Is that the one you're talking about? I jest with you, Ben.
The Richard Donner cut. Go watch the Richard Donner cut.
So I mean, and again, like a word you said that raised alarm bells for me was superhero. We have thus far, although there is an otherworldly quality to this, avoided the things that perhaps we might see. So, for example, if we were saying, does she have control over fire? Well, I don't want her having gouts of fire coming out of the ends of her hands.
Blasting fire.
It just feels like we're then entering into
X-Men now.
X-Men territory. We're also then upping the budget. I want someone to be able to read this and go, okay, yeah, this is a $40 to $60 million film. That's what
we don't want. We don't want big CGI superhero style.
Absolutely
fighting.
Right. So but could there be? I really liked the image that we were talking about yesterday, which is like, the bath is running. She checks the door. She locks it. She puts her hand in, and the water boils. And then I go, oh, she's very good at making cups of tea.
She is very good.
She'd be good in a pinch, wouldn't she? If you need a cup of tea, you needed one right away.
I mean,
but, that would be like, I think that's a really cool visual. And again, I'm also asking at this particular point, who and what is she?
It's true.
Because I still haven't really answered that question at this point in the movie.
Yeah. So what does that, I guess, I mean, the power to make water boil is very specific.
It is very
almost to
specific.
the point of going, huh?
So could it
feels
be
like it needs to be something about she can generate the heat?
That's what I was.
from
That's
somewhere.
where I was going. She
Not
can generate
fireballs.
heat, but doesn't. Yeah, I mean exactly. If I could make the palm of my hand 1,000 degrees Celsius,
Mhm.
I could for a limited period of time. That would be really interesting. You know, could I? You know, I can have a lot of fun potentially with that. You know, I can I? Is it hot enough to melt metal? Again, I want to be careful about that. You know, but can I put my hand in water?
Something that we could do with this idea that we've been toying with, which is demonic energy. Is there something about demonic energy? I mean, energy obviously is the source of heat.
Yes. Yep.
You know,
yep.
We're saying that. I'm just thinking like, you know, we have this thing where Hank is able to somehow track or determine where demonic energy is.
Yeah.
Is there something about heat signals
That's
or heat,
That's
heat itself? I mean, if you think about hell, it's fucking hot. That's what people think about. It's like
totally. Yeah. I mean, it's why we're saying she likes a bacon chard.
Yeah. So like, is there if she does that, is it about kind of almost tapping into and using some essentially without having to explain it too much? I don't want to get into like
I agree
the exposition of how she's able to do it, but I feel like I could probably just justify it by going, she's a demon, and so she has demonic energy. Demonic energy
could make things hot.
Could make things hot.
I'm totally fine with that. I'm not sure how much of an explanation it needs.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think if you saw her put her hand in the water and it boiled, great. If you saw her able to snap and a candle lit because they're in a place where there's or a fireplace because they're all the people she's with are freezing.
Yeah, I mean even the click I think might be too much. If she was able to put her fingers on the wick of a candle and make it so intensely hot it caught fire, I would buy that rather than like click. I'm controlling.
Yeah, not separated necessarily.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
I was almost like thinking like the way you make a lighter come on. Like, have you ever had a Zippo lighter and you try and like snap it on?
Yeah. It could be something like that. Yeah, I can put my hand in
something like that.
Instant kindling, make it ridiculously hot, so hot that it might catch fire.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. I'm down. I think that's that. And I think we give that. I think we make that the limit of her abilities.
Yeah, just it's that she's a demon, and so she possesses demonic energy.
Great.
Period.
Great. Awesome.
You know.
Cool.
Cool. So let's go into our
document. Indeed.
Indeed. In order to do that, I need to share my screen with everybody.
Indeed. If you're listening to this, you're not getting to see all the beautiful things that are going down into our outline. But on the plus side, you can do it while you're driving. So there is that.
Yeah, and Jake and I like to talk out loud, so at least you're hearing most.
Yes, as opposed to talking in our heads.
Yes.
You
know, that's part of why I can't write by myself. I talk out loud all the time, and then I'm like by myself talking out loud in a room where nobody else is, going, "Okay, I'm a little."
Okay, so are we? You made a note here yesterday. I think it was about the powers.
I did. It basically was talk about demon powers. What can Charlize do and not do? And we've just talked about that. So I think that it's before this. Noticeably, you know, Charlize.
Question. It's not going to be covered in paper anymore. It's not her house. Just her house. Does she cover up the mirror? If you can't see the script, there's a moment here, hangover from the previous version, which is noticeably the mirror is covered over with paper. This was because when she lived alone, she would not want to be reminded of her gruesome demonic reflection. Now, in this particular version, could she put a blanket over? Not blanket.
I guess my question is: there's something kind of cool about. Look, the camera can be on the mirror as much or as little as we want.
Yes, of course.
If you have a glimpse of the mirror as she's stepping into the tub and all you see is her back, and the back is like the demon.
Yeah, sure.
Cutting to her front, and it's Charlize. You go, It's kind of cool if you just see
fine. So just strike out
the kind of like that could be really interesting.
Yes, maybe a glimpse in mirror of demonic form.
Yeah, sure.
I'm on the fence about whether we need it here or not, but
well, here's the thing. This is the moment where we're about to get all the demonic stuff through her, right? She's putting her hand in water, it's turning hot. She's gonna get hit by this shockwave of energy.
Of something, yeah.
I think that at this point, if we see something weird in the mirror,
fine.
And maybe it's only with steam, so we don't fully understand.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Through the steam, we see it. You know.
Yeah.
And then water, and it boils quickly. You know, the room.
Amazingly, she gets in.
Steam, and she, undresses. In the mirror, we see a glimpse.
Jesus.
Of a
joking.
It's a fucking outline, dude.
I'm so joking. I'm joking.
A glimpse of her demonic
form.
Great. She gets in and it doesn't burn.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Great.
cool. So
then this into Sam's apartment.
Okay, boyfriend tries to control her.
Yep.
Gets without that. Yeah. So cool. Just as she closes her. Okay, so now this is slightly different because when
she would have somebody there,
her boyfriend should find her on the floor.
That's right. Yeah.
And be like,
could she wake up the next morning in bed rather than in she's been unconscious for that amount of time. And she's in bed. She's got bandage over her head.
So why is she going to the Rite Aid?
I don't know. If someone, let's just go to logic for a second.
Yeah.
Just logify this for a second. And maybe it's wrong, but let me just throw it out. I'm just going to put if I got out of the bath and hit my head and was unconscious, and my wife found me and I would not regain consciousness, she would dial 911.
Of course.
And I would probably wake up 12 hours later in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what should definitely happen here. We may be in small town where the hospital is not near. And maybe it's a doctor visit. Maybe a doctor came over, emergency call from the doctor and he came over. You know, I don't know. That would be the logic of it.
It's probably why I lean towards just a beat of him finding her on the floor and her going, I'm okay.
Okay. So she hasn't been unconscious for 12 hours.
No.
Right.
No, I think we need to cut back.
Right.
At some point.
After Hank?
Probably after Hank, yeah.
Oh, yes, okay.
No, rather than the next morning.
It's still night.
Still
that night. Yeah.
And boyfriend.
Yes.
Boyfriend.
Yes.
Finds
her on the floor.
Yeah. On the floor. She wakes.
She's dizzy, disoriented. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
She's bleeding from her head.
Stream from her head.
He bandages her up.
Yes.
Bandages her up.
Sends her off with a cup of hot cocoa. Boiling hot cocoa.
This note. Demons look like Darth Maul. They can be seen by us.
This was just out. This was a note that
we
had held.
All right. So, I think that it's just he takes her to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Then, the next morning, I can still buy that she's going to, she's got a bandage on her head and she's going to get more. But I don't know that it needs to be a drugstore. It could just be
No, it doesn't need to be a drugstore.
She could just be there. She's got a bandage on her head and she's buying fucking groceries.
Totally. Grocery store. Although we have been in a grocery store already.
We have? Oh, because of Hank.
Because of
right.
Hank. Yeah.
That's true. We don't want to think it's the same place.
She's just going to drugs. She'd run out of Advil. Because if there's one thing that stops demonic pain, it's Advil. Advil, right, for everyone.
It's a good.
Why is Advil not sponsoring this this show? I don't understand.
I wonder if I mean, it's a good question. Do demons feel pain in the same way? I don't know that they do. But you know, this actually is an interesting opportunity that we could work in too, which is, what if Charlize has found normalcy in this world? What does she do for work? Because this could happen at her work, and I'd be totally fine. I would want to probably establish a moment of her at her job. But I find it interesting.
Like, that's a question. Again, I'm just going to go into the whole deep logic of it all. Does she need to work? She's been alive for 100. She's been
not about need of money. It's not about money.
It's about
normalcy.
Show.
It's about, I want to be as human as possible.
Yeah.
And humans don't sit around just doing nothing all day. You know, even if it was like
only if they're professional screenwriters.
Yeah. I mean, even if it was that, although I don't really like it for her character, but if she was just independently wealthy, then what's her hobby? Like,
sure,
people do stuff in
of
life,
course, yes, people fill their time. I
actually prefer her working just because it feels even more normal.
Yeah,
you know, there's something interesting about, like, this again.
It's one of these things, though, isn't it? It's like, it's never going to come back. And is anyone asking this question? What does it give us that we need? I'm open to it. I'm just asking these questions because we're never going to come back here. It's going to be for one scene, you know.
Yeah, I mean, one or two. I mean, it could be. We could add in a moment in the early part of before she goes to the diner.
I mean, the Highlander obviously runs an antique store, which feels right for him because, of course, he understands old shit.
Yeah,
I think it's the
I mean, for it. You know, without stealing that, like, you know, is there some what is she interested? I mean, here's what it gives us. It gives us depth of character.
Sure.
Yes. Is it plot related? No. But it's character related. And what I would do is I'd have a one beat where we see her, where we actually would meet her in her job. Then she would say, all right, I'm going to take my lunch. And that's when she goes to the diner. And that's where we have the diner scene. Then this is the next day in the, let's say it's a, you know, antique shop. Although I don't want to just
it feels worn.
But I'm just using it as a placeholder. That's where this demon shows up. So
is it? And you'll like this. Is it a library? I say that because Ben's wife is a librarian.
Yes.
Is it a library? Like, again, I would understand old books, history, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, is it the kind of thing that's not just any library? Is it the kind of, I mean, then it, in theory, could be plot related.
Yes, it could be, couldn't it?
You know, if it's if we put this somewhere whereby they have some kind of an old rare book collection library.
Yeah. A library of rare antiquities.
About the Antichrist or something like this myth of hers. That we there is an opportunity to actually use the bookstore if that's the case, which I like, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do bookstore. Let's do bookstore. I like bookstore.
Is there? So it's a
bookstore or yeah. I mean, if it was a bookstore,
she's not even a librarian then.
She's not even a librarian.
But it could be like a rare book.
Yes, rare bookstore. Absolutely right. Yes. Yeah. Great. I'm down with that. Great.
Yeah, so let's just go up here. Are you cool with showing it one time up here as well, and then
sure? This would become right before we first meet Charlize's character in the diner.
Correct.
Correct.
So it would be establishing
Colorado Mountains Day,
Colorado.
establishing interior
So
bookstore.
honestly, in this version, can I just make the suggestion that it's not quite as small of a town?
Sure.
Like, could it be in like
Boulder?
Like, yeah, or like Asheville, North Carolina, or some like really like small city, but
Small
not
city.
like not New York, obviously.
Yeah, totally.
You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Yes, okay, fine. So rather than tiny, it's like
So
Boulder.
we go like Boulder. I've never been to Boulder's.
I've never been to. It's just in my mind because I was having a conversation with a neighbor of mine the other day who used to live in Boulder.
Yeah, cool.
But I think probably Boulder's
like,
probably got a good size population.
I'm sure it does. So
Boulder, Colorado. Oh, it's small enough. Interesting. 108,000. So it's smallish.
Only 108,000 people live in Boulder?
Yeah.
That is small. But I would believe that there could potentially be a rare bookstore there.
Yes, sure.
I'd buy
Interestingly, the population of Asheville is only 94,000. So
there you go.
So there you go.
Yeah. Cool.
Great.
Yeah, it's like if we were in Australia, it'd be like, not Sydney, but the one just south of it that I love. Melbourne.
Even Melbourne's got a population of 5.78 million. It's quite big.
Does it really?
It does, yeah.
But it feels so artsy and gritty and cool. All right. So what we're going to say is exterior, and it's not going to be exterior, is it?
It'll be interior.
It's going to be interior bookstore. So let's get establishing, and then we go,
sure.
A rare bookstore.
Yep.
Is on a a tourist street.
Sure.
Yeah.
Filled with old tomes.
Yeah, bookstore day, old tomes and religious
stuff.
Religious
antiques.
And antique books, books from all over the world.
Yeah. Walking through the stacks is shock horror Charlize. She has an age today. We can bring up what we have below in the diner.
Yes. It's literally just that.
Yes.
Is Charlize. And she here's a question. Does she own this bookstore or does she work for this bookstore?
She owns this bookstore.
So she tells her clerk or her cashier, who's like a nice young person.
Yeah. She's headed for lunch.
Tells her cashier she's headed to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Headed to lunch. And then we go to lunch. Outside, Charlize, walks down the and it should be the quaint streets. I mean, it's interesting. All of these beats, what's nice about these are they're all establishing that while we saw her as a terrorist, she is now in a very comfortable, soft, sweet life.
Yeah.
Which is really great for the contrast of where we saw her in the prologue.
Yes.
So now she's going to go to the bookstore in this next beat after we meet Hank. And here's an interest. I think bookstore is one word, isn't it?
Sure.
So in this case, Charlize is behind.
Yes.
Or maybe Charlize is in the back.
Yeah. Now, is this scene going to happen in the bookstore?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay. Sure. Okay. Fine.
Is in the back room. She's gone to work. Is in the back room doing, sorting a new arrivals. When she smelled sulfur.
Yep.
She asks the cashier if she smells the same, but the girl doesn't, and yet it's really strong. Charlize looks in the security mirror, which there still could absolutely be. A demon is making mischief, not fucking the customers, fucking with the customers. The demon is actually fucking the customers.
Yes. Yeah.
This has gone to a whole different kind of movie.
It's a different kind of movie.
And I would just say this is in the back room again now.
Right.
Back room. pulls him into the back room.
Great.
And this is cool because she owns the place now, so there's less.
She can fuck shit up. Yeah,
can fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Stabs a demon, he turns into black smoke. Wonderful.
Okay.
I really like this change. Now the next thing, though, other than her just driving to Portland, her going home and sneaking out with all of her shit.
That's right.
Because the next thing, as we've talked about, is she knows that if this demon was in Boulder now, that other demons might be coming to Boulder.
Yeah.
She can't fucking be around, or her family.
Absolutely right. Yep.
So I guess my question is, as it is now 12:54 with this being 55 minutes, and I know we have a hard out today.
I've got a parent-teacher conference because I'm a grown-up.
That's right. I had mine this morning.
Had another one yesterday.
Well, I couldn't work earlier. So I think that let's put in just a quick note. So Charlize
will go home.
Is going to go home. She's distracted and not acting like herself. There could be a good moment where she even yells at the kid, like in a very
totally. Something that's out of character. I like that.
The kid, the boyfriend, sees her packing.
Should it? Well, we'll have a conversation about the fullness of it. But
what's going on? She says she has to leave and can't explain. Yeah,
great, awesome.
Boom.
Fun times at Demon High. High.
It's interesting. I know Act 1 keeps kind of getting longer, but here's what I really like about what's happening in this outline, and this is why we do this. I really have a great connection to Charlize, and she's actually really grown into the true protagonist of this movie,
which is what she always was. Yeah.
And as much as Sam is really interesting and Hank's going to be fantastic, we like, even in an ensemble, to have one character that you are most attached to, that is really your kind of like central hero. And she's really complicated. I love that we see her in this weird prologue. I love that now we've gotten a sense that she's not human. And now we've actually see her now, but at this point in the movie, and we're probably like 20, 25 minutes in at this point.
Sure. Yeah.
We've just discovered that what's actually going on, and she's leaving her life to go off and try and take care of the situation.
Yeah.
And we're going to be in Act 2 in a matter of scenes at this point. So and then it just
real
gets
fun
harder and harder and harder. Gosh, you guys, if Act 1 has seemed like it's taken a while, just wait until we get to Act 2.
But then, honestly, like, this is all the work. When we actually come to scripting it, we could have this first draft done in a week or two.
Well, because you've already written 60 pages of it, Exactly. Great. All right. Well, this has been a great session. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, everyone watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Oh, by the way, we have a new handle, Jake. we got it last night. It is now at Lustig Thornton. So youtube.com/@Lustig Thornton is now our web. That is the direct link to our channel.
Right.
It is also our handle at Lustig Thornton. So if you're commenting on something within YouTube now,
that's cool.
Just like a Twitter or a Facebook thing, we are at Lustig Thornton, and you can always use that as our handle. Very exciting.
Cool. Good stuff.
All right, everybody.
All right, dude.
See you tomorrow.
See you later. Bye.